Thank you, gentlemen. Really, we had wonderful interventions today. The world is big. The world is changing every second. We should be prepared for this. If anybody has any kind of question, the gentlemen are here to answer them.
I have two observations, one for Sankar. Listening to you, I think we should use this circular economy in order to take input from employees in the bank to improve internal controls. We can process that data and do that because we're very bureaucratic in the way we introduce internal controls, and we don't really check how the existing ones are they too restrictive? Do we need to reduce touch point in the internal control process or not? And I think that applies to a certain extent. As for Nadim and Ahmad, I think the problem we're having is that we're exaggerating automation. When you talk about artificial intelligence, there is no artificial intelligence per se as far as when you introduce it into, I'm going to talk about financial institution. Ahmad, you used the word predictive in your presentation. The one I counted about 11 times. And every time you talk about the process leading to cognitive thinking, you start from descriptive to diagnostic analytics, to predictive analytics, to prescriptive analytics, which means that artificial intelligence in the workplace has not got to the point where it's making decision. It's merely describing. And those who use artificial intelligence and take it to the point of decision making have failed. I'll give you an example. In call centers, artificial intelligence have been used, but it's purely descriptive. It takes the data and tells you that what it is, not what should be. That's in that sense. And in decision making, when they introduce artificial intelligence in the credit approval process, artificial intelligence ended up being biased toward the data that it started with. And we said yesterday they ended up rejecting most blacks in retail loans in the United States. When they use it in RegTech, they were very disappointed because there is no magic solution. And what we need to understand is that today we live in a society where you did not allow for transformation between the born digital and us. I mean, I'm 60 years old, I wasn't born digital. I understand technology, I struggled to learn it. But there is this transformation or transitional phase, you're not allowing for it. Because there are no magic solution, and you know more than anyone in this room, every decision maker in financial institution today is not technology savvy. Which means that he thinks that this solution is gonna solve all of his problems, where in reality it's not. Because most core banking need to be customized. And in the customization process, what are you doing? You're using your old process and you're moving it to the new technology, which is the worst thing you can ever do. You are not willing to change. Well, take the core banking and dump it as is and start working with a new environment. No, I want the old decision-making process, I want to move it to the new technology. Well, that's a schizophrenia. It's
not a question. Sorry, if you have a questions, you want to, please?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for the question. So the
it's not a question, of course.
Yes, I mean, I understand your point. So I'm trying to reply. So AI is here not to replace business processes or not to replace human decisions. Can you hear me now? It's better? Okay, I know it's better. Sorry. Yes, so the idea about behind AI and machine learning is not really to replace business processes or to replace human decision, but to recommend, but to optimize them. So we're not, for example, for core banking, we're not here coming and saying completely change this process. We are coming as machine learning to provide more insights based on the wealth of data that you have let's exploit it, let's leverage it in order to make better decisions when you, let's say, if you talk about churn, right? Instead of you following the classical process of calling people using your ad hoc segmentation based on your own subjective opinion of who like to churn, I'm going to analyze on your data, predict who is likely to churn based on historical churners, right? Which can improve your business process when you deal with churn. So I'm going to change and disrupt the whole process. We understand there's a cultural change that will take some time. It's a journey that we need to take with the organizations, but it's something, it's like additional information. It's a machine that can give you better insight when you come up with your decisions. So, and predictive, I know I repeat that word a lot because when you talk about machine learning, we don't talk about descriptive. Descriptive is the classical business intelligence reporting. When we talk about machine learning, we talk about predictive and prescriptive. So we talk about analyzing data to predict what you should do in order to optimize certain business process. That's my short answer for that.
Okay, thanks. Just to relate that a bit, so we have not yet reached the stage where we have an autonomous, intelligent banking platform, right? Where it does not require augmentation by the typical talent we have and the typical folks that work in a bank. But I strongly believe that if you do run an analytics engine model, design a model, run it in parallel with your credit analysts, okay, it will outperform them, right? It will never eliminate the need for them. It will outperform. Yes, in the first maybe 6 months, 8 months, it might not outperform. It's still learning, it's still adjusting, calibrating. On the long run, it will definitely outperform. The capacity and the ability to analyze and correlate data of that engine cannot be compared. Unfortunately, that's the reality. It's like comparing an airplane's ability to cross the ocean with a car. It's a different skill set. Yet what the car can do in maneuvering in small streets of Beirut, the airplane cannot do, right? So each one has a specific competency and skill. And that's where you see, yes, we do it in banks. You have fraud detection. You have it in governance, risk, and compliance, in your internal controls, as you rightly said. That's where we see a lot of AI uptake, by the way, right? Because AI can correlate events based on previous patterns that were detected by humans and correlate that this might be one of those cases that requires attention, you know? So does the shortlisting, the zooming in, the focusing on that, fraud detection as managed by banks, by credit card issuers, payment companies, is all done using AI. There's no way for having humans sift through these transactions. It is automated, there's intelligence inbuilt, it has to keep on learning because the criminals and the fraudsters are always learning new methods and new techniques. So that's the key thing. So it exists, it's real, but yes, we're not in a stage where you have a fully autonomous, intelligent banking platform and we just watch it and give it some water or electricity or something. We're not there yet, yes, definitely. Thanks.
First, I would like to thank our 4 lecturers. Mr. Andraous, the chairman also. I was attending this conference since yesterday. I do have a very simple question. You know, when cognitive analytics management will be applied, what will be the result concerning the jobs all over the world of 100 million of people? What will be the results? Could you please give us a small idea, some explanation about that? Thank you.
I can take that, yeah. So, that's the easiest question, but we're all starting with the mic. Okay, now it's better? No? Now? Okay. I don't know why it turned off alone. Okay, didn't touch it. Anyway, so yeah, that's not the easiest question to answer, but I will try to answer it as much as I can. So, you know, so technologies are there since decades, and AI is one of them, right? So when we had every new technology every technology has disrupted somehow the market, the job market. But we're still here. We're still living. We're still, eating, and we're still surviving, because the technology is here to optimize the economy, right? Optimize the productivity. But at some point, when new technology comes in, today it's mainly about AI, blockchain, and IoT. It's going definitely to repurpose the jobs. So of course, there will be some jobs that will be gone, right? So like a lot of market analysts will tell you, every job that requires less than 5 seconds of thinking, it will be replaced, right? So if you're doing your task with less than 5 seconds of thinking, your job is at risk today. But doesn't mean that that's why people don't have to stop here. They have to start, keep on evolving their skill sets and keep on repurposing their jobs in order to be aligned with the new market demand. So it's like every technology, AI is just one of them, and at every technology that came into the market since decades, people start thinking of way of how to work around it and how to leverage it to be a better human and to improve their economy. So, of course, yeah, job will be replaced, but we need to think about new kind of jobs that can be created in the market.
I have some. Working? Okay, I have some intervention. Actually, it will make our life better. See, what AI will do or technology will do, it will eliminate the mundane job that we don't like to do and transform us to be a better human being. I think that's what will happen. There are more people who will be spending time in creating knowledge, doing intellectual activity, and there are also, because of that, we'll need also the balance on the other hand, and we'll look also for we'll appreciate creativeness more. We'll appreciate arts, so the technology will push us also to find this balance. Also, getting human service or getting to deal with a human will become more expensive. So people who will do this will be people that love to do this, that will be passionate about doing this. The other things also is about dealing a relationship, will value relationship more. So I think that AI will not replace us. And the other thing let me tell you another thing about our education system. We are inside an educational institution. Unfortunately, our education system has been designed to work for the industrial era, which is creating the human machine, a machine that blend well with a human that blend well with the machine. The whole system was designed. Have you wondered why kids has to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, study for 7 hours, wear uniform, and if they go and have to sit and listen, and if they actually make any objection or try to go outside the box, they are called, not well disciplined. The reason for that is that's what we need in the industrial age. And in this age, okay, that's, again, also you see a lot of creation happen from outside the educational system, a lot of innovation. In this age, we need to transform ourselves to come back to our humanity, and I think this will free us. We need to think about education as a continuous process. Actually, we need to grow out of education or learning to come into what I call a competency building or continuous competency building. And if we go through this framework, a person through his life can acquire around 40 or 50 competencies and can use it and apply it. So that's the good news.
Fadi is one of the speaker and the question maker.
Thank you for the very enlightening presentations. I do subscribe to the new digital economy, machine learning, artificial intelligence. I have two questions I would like to ask. First one is relating to, maybe this is relating on a worldwide basis, about the efficiency of certain countries and economies to catch up. So will the gap between the smarter economies, like maybe the US, the UK, be growing bigger than countries which are less fortunate? The second question I have is, on a score from 1 to 5, how much is the maturity model working today? I see one slide that talked about 300%. I think it was yours, talked about 300% growth per year, the fastest among all the areas. So if you can please address those, we much appreciate it.
It is in my slides, that one. I will show you later. I can show it. It is really the newest counter technology are growing in market capital much more than those who were earlier in the market. I may put the slide anyway, but it's not such.
Sure. Thank you for your question. I'll take the first one, actually, talking about the wider the gap it goes, and it might be. Actually, I feel you are going to have challenges. I feel if you class every nation as a developing nation and a developed economy, there's lessons learned from every single nation coming out. Let's take the concept of the circular economy. They say, oh, you might not have the infrastructure to be more kind of thinking about recycle, renewable things. Actually, if you take Africa or India, they're actually doing a lot more innovative things, which they have been doing quite a while back. It's about what lessons learned they have, they might be using according to their strengths that we might want to learn from other nations. So I even think the classification of developing nations, they do it because of GDP and whatnot, but there's lessons learned which comes from every single organization, every single nation, every single person. So I think if you can be able to open up and share that knowledge sharing, which is important to play that role, even the US or let's say the global power, they have something which they have a weakness, where knowledge economy, which they can learn from the other nations, which they can use and learn from it. So I think that's how you could probably narrow down the gap or the widening gap, and how that can be working through collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay. I just follow up, is that the mechanism for enabling these countries, the poorer countries, if you will, to catch up and produce things on a mass scale basis. So it helps the people and their economy to grow and evolve. The challenge is, these countries have a lot of issues, including corruption, including bad leadership, including a lot of other things. They have very bright people, but it's not with the people, it's the whole system. So the concern to me is that the gap grows wider. The smarter economies get a lot smarter because of machine learning or what have you, and the poor economy gets, downwards. So the gap grows bigger and bigger.
I'll give you an example, actually. Sorry. Thinking about artificial intelligence, and one of the cases where they were trying to work, right, is US company-based company was trying to, because the big thing about is actually going and teaching the machine, right? You have to teach the data, the map, let's say Google kind of maps, if it's detecting something, the human has to sit and teach that sometimes, right? I think the basic. What they're doing, a company based in Africa, is because labor is so cheap, they actually employ the people, upskill them, right, with the computer skills, and they actually sit and do the teaching where they are teaching. So they're actually upskilling the labor there, but they're actually working in terms of collaboration. Let's take the bureaucratic issue of UK, which has a policy with drones, autonomous vehicle, where you can't actually fly because of the legislations, right? But in Africa, a US startup went and did the drone actual medical supplies, because they could actually test the use case where there was less restriction there.
I want to add another things about this, because I have a personal experience dealing with different part of the world and how they respond to technology. One of the things, the gap, first of all, what you mentioned is very right, and the gap will grow exponentially. If it's left as it is right now, it will grow exponentially. But also on the same time, there is a way to leap it. And this way to leap it actually is not about technology, it's using technology to actually advance our leap. And the major actually hurdle in front of this poorer country is not in the technology, is in their education system. What we discover that's what this poorer country versus advanced country, even people are bright, but the culture, the innovation culture, the technology aware culture is not there. And we identify 15 behavioral competency that actually culture sometimes they are required to enter the knowledge economy. But these 15 competency, the education system as well as the culture system go and end up destroying them. So that's one of the big impediment that exists, big hurdle that exists if you want to leave. Now, the other thing is that, okay, knowledge is there now that we did not have access to before. That's why I talk about the standardization of best practices reference model. So if we are able to model it, then we can teach it faster, then we can transform it faster, then we can share it faster. So adopting this now, we can share also knowledge, and that's knowledge that transform into the human brain are the enabler that will enable us to deal with the advancement of technology.
Is there any other questions? Yes, Dr. Abbas.
Thank you again for all the presentations. I just would like to say that what we're seeing today actually is the applications of how we're gonna move into the AI era. So it's the transition period. So for the season, we are not actually changing the business processes as you just mentioned. We're just supporting the management. But don't you think that it's time today to start looking at new business models that we need to adopt so that we'll be able to move into the AI era in the future and not keep digitizing our business processes? So rather than we're going to do what we call the digital transformation, the actual digital transformation, so that we can...
Nadim will speak about, otherwise I will interfere.
No, I can address that. So definitely digitizing your business processes is not, will not be a key differentiator or strategic, right? But this is what we were talking about today is way beyond that. It's about what do companies need to do to survive, to stay sustainable, right? The business process is going to be the least of their concerns, followed by their internal policies, because they will die with them. So the shareholders will take their policies, take their corporate governance structures and their business processes to the graveyard. And just relating back to the point, yes, countries are at risk of a new form of slavery, I believe, by those global, the Amazons, right? The President of the States is talking about Amazon as a threat to the US, right? Not only a threat to us globally. So yes, there is a kind of global new slavery model coming, which can be driven by these technologies and this disruption happening. It is real. Look at how many companies disappeared from 20 years back from now. They don't exist in the top 100, top 1,000 list anymore. It is real. Yes, it's going to happen. It is real. It's unfortunate. It's ugly. It's sad. And I can just relate this to that. I come from, I live in Dubai. And just imagine a thriving economy built on solid standards, highly digitized, highly automated, highly electronic, whatever you want to call it, with clear vision, with proper governance, has realized that they need to evolve, transform, innovate, change their existing model to survive. It's not about increasing profits, it's that companies will understand that either I need to just stay sustainable and ride it out till the end, but I know this business is closing in 10 years if I'm a retailer, I'm a physical retailer, I'm a gas station. Just 2 weeks back, something happened in Dubai, which I never thought would happen. Now the gas station comes to us, to our houses, right? They come, fill up the car, parked in front of your house, right? With IoT tomorrow, they will know you're at home. They will know how much gas you have. They will come fill it up without even telling you and just charge you, for example. So this is where it's heading. So Yes, the disruption will be there, but it's way above business process. The key thing is companies need to leave the business processes. Definitely, business operating model is going to change. The business model is going to be based on the value that they need to drive with the ecosystem. That's my view. It's way beyond business process.
I need to disagree about that, because I actually work with a lot of Fortune companies, and I saw some companies disappear and some companies stayed in business. The biggest problems that happened to the companies that no longer there is when the internet era came. They put e-facade on their business and kept the whole things happening as it is. And for this reason, you were not able to respond because the change did not happen. And I used to quote actually Darwin on that, not the smartest species that will survive.
Kodak is an example. Kodak. Kodak did
Kodak, you have Sears, it's big
companies.
one. Okay, that's you go. You can compare digital versus non-digital. There's a lot of cases that we saw that's happened because of this. Yes, no, you cannot do digital transformation without rethinking your processes and the way we do things. That's important for organization. They have to rethink, but also they have better than process. So process is not the only solution, because you get Michael Hammer talking about it and got with the whole wave of re-engineering and the failure on re-engineering 75%, and the only success or the criteria for the other 25% where they have done it before. So they went through it together. It's not only process. It's the most important things is the skill set, is the people that you have, is the competency that you have inside your organization to enable. We are talking about new technology. We are talking about the new things. If you don't have the right competency, you have not start to think, to rethink your model. If the company did not increase their, what I call it, their thinking power inside the organization in order to start to look at the best practices which are available, or reference model, which are available, that they can do. They need thinking power to evolve. They need thinking power to bridge the old to the new and be able to compete. So, of course, process has to change, and you cannot do it without process change. But the more important than process change is actual competencies. You need the competency needed for that.
Is there any burning question? Sorry, I'm helping you.
Very interesting morning. I think that everybody now deserves a coffee. Lunch? Yeah. Okay, everybody deserves lunch. Hopefully you have studied the preferences of everybody. What do they love? What do they eat? Thank you, Dr. Osman.
Thank you.
Give a token of appreciation to our speaker. However, we are disrupted by the technology for which we don't have yet some of the shield. So we'll give the one, and we promise to deliver it by DHL, a better technology.